Subscribe to our YouTube channel and press the bell icon to get the latest updates.
This Cut the Clutter comes to you at an unusual time in our democracy when our parliament is sitting over the weekends to pass important bills. Now, we all know about the tamasha that took place in Rajya Sabha today over the passing of the farm bills. And I would say, although I support the farm bills, I would still say it's unfortunate that these bills, important bills, had to be passed in what is called as halla, which is voice vote and commotion. If bills like this, if division should have been allowed, and I do think still Modi government had the clout to have it passed, but to do it in noise is not the best way to begin a big reform. Nevertheless, let's leave that aside now because we spoke about these bills yesterday, that is in episode 571. So if you want to still know more about these bills and the controversies, please see episode 571. We are now talking in 572. Now 572, where we take up something else, and this also has to do with Parliament and something that has come up in Parliament for passing. Now let me first pose a riddle to you or a quiz question to you. I will read out a longish quotation from you and you guess who said this and when. So this quotation is, biotechnology has enormous potential and in due course of time we will make use of genetic engineering technologies to increase the productivity of our agriculture. But there are controversies. And then this goes on to say, there are NGOs often funded by the US or Scandinavian countries which are not fully appreciative of the development challenges our country faces. You know, for example, what happened in Kudankulam. Kudankulam in Tamil Nadu is the nuclear power plant set up with Russian collaboration. You know, for example, what happened in Kudankulam. The atomic energy program has got into difficulties because of these NGOs, mostly I think based in the US, that do not appreciate the need for our country to increase energy supply. Now, obviously, this is somebody higher up in the government complaining that NGOs funded by people with funny motives and funded by people in America, Scandinavia, other European countries are blocking India's development through these NGOs and also India's genetically modified crops and also particularly India's energy development. Now, to counter all this, one instrument that Government of India has used is called FCRA, or Foreign Contributions Regulation Act. Now this act was passed by Mrs. Gandhi, by Indira Gandhi in 1976 at the peak of the emergency. Emergency was 75 to 77. 1976 at the peak of the emergency when she had extended the term of her parliament also. So I call that an illegitimate government, an illegitimate parliament. Now that parliament passed Foreign Contributions Regulation Act, which was the original one in 1976. Her purpose at that time was, one, to make sure that her rival political parties could not get money from overseas, and second also that media should not be able to get money from overseas, and even individuals in the media should not get money from the overseas. So in fact, if you read the text of the 1976 law, which was then superseded in 2010, the interesting thing is, and that carries on in the new laws also, that among the media people it bars from getting foreign contributions are editors, correspondents, columnists, printers, publishers, but most importantly, in my view, cartoonists. So in 1976, I think she was so hurt by what Abu Abraham and Lakshman were doing to her that she specifically put the cartoonists there. That continues, by the way, even now. Now, she passed this in 1976. Now, one thing that I keep saying to you all the time is that in our country, if a bad law is passed, nobody changes it. In fact, nobody changes it for the better. Every subsequent guy usually changes it for the worse. That's what I say all the time, reversing Victor Hugo, that nobody can stop a bad idea whose time has come. And once a bad idea comes, the next guy will make that idea worse, and next guy will make it even worse. And by the time the next one comes, those opposing that bad idea originally would be mostly gone. So this FCRA was then amended by the UPA government in 2010, made much tougher than before, made much tougher than Indira Gandhi's FCRA. So they are now complaining about the amendments the Modi government is making, but you know how I look at that. That is, this is more a case of some mile hue hain, because they've all done more or less the same thing. Now, what does FCRA say? In essence, FCRA says that any public servant. Now, that definition was a bit loose. The new amendments tighten that definition now. So, public servant now is anybody defined as a public servant under the Indian Penal Code. So, the category will now widen a great deal. Any public servant, any media person, any politician, any legislator, any political party, etc., 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 cannot take any money from overseas, essentially by way of a donation. And if they do that, they have to go to Government of India for clearance, or they have to apply for an FCRA license. Now, this FCRA license, when Mrs. Gandhi passed this law in 1976, this was like a permanent license, which means you got the license and then you were done for a very long time. You were done for the rest of your history or the rest of your time. But the UPA government then changed it. UPA government made it 5 years. That is why in 2015, more than 10,000 NGOs suddenly lost their FCRA license and had to apply again. Now these new amendments are coming. So UPA made a bad 1976 law, a draconian 1976 law based in xenophobia, based in the theory of the foreign hand, even tougher. That's why I said this is a case of sabhi mile hue hain, no matter what anybody says right now. Now, the new amendments that this law is now going to see under the Modi government in Parliament, which are now being debated in Lok Sabha, and which were opposed by Manish Tiwari and Adhir Ranjan Sarkar of Congress as draconian and as curbing dissent. It's essentially their law. It's being further tightened. They had tightened Indira Gandhi's law. These ones are tightening their law further. So, my colleague Apurva Mandhani, who covers law for us, she has taken out the key aspects of the new amendments. So one is now, as I said, all public servants as defined by IPC. Effectively, then it means is that even say the chairman of ICICI Bank or CEO of ICICI Bank or HDFC Bank, etc., they will all now be public servants. So they'll be covered by this, including NGOs run by them. Number two, most important, when Mrs. Gandhi passed the law in 1976, she said that of the money you get from overseas by way of a donation, you can spend any amount anywhere, which means you could get all that money and spend it on salaries and travel and phones and computers, etc. of your staff. UPA in its 2010 law, in 2010 they passed a fresh law superseding the earlier law. In that law they said that no, you can't spend all of it on yourselves. You can spend up to 50% as administrative expenses. What has the BJP done now? BJP has now reduced it to 20%. So this, I would say, is a very tight clause. So if you are an Oxfam, or if you are Greenpeace, or if you are Amnesty International, you get X amount of money from your overseas principal. You can only spend 20% of that on your bureaucracy, on your vehicles, on your office, on your administrative expenses. The rest has to be raised in India. So that is how I declutter the meaning of this 50% to 20%. Then it goes on to say that government will demand now the Aadhaar numbers of all directors and key employees and CEO, etc. of every NGO which gets money from overseas for its FCRA license. Next, and this is something that Congress has opposed, but Congress has earlier put in the power that when the government has doubts about an NGO or on how it's using its donations, they could suspend its functioning for 180 days. Now what the Modi government is doing, the new amendment, they are saying after 180 days, they can extend it by another 180 days. So 360 days, that means a whole year. This is something that Congress is now objecting to. Then it says that if one organization, one NGO essentially, which has FCRA license, has money lying in its account, it in the past it could transfer that money to another NGO which also had an FCRA license. Now you can no longer do that. Only you have to use it. And then something very interesting. It says when you get foreign money as donations, it can't come into your account. It will only come into one account in a designated branch of State Bank of India, designated by the Government of India. So your money will come there, then you can transfer it to your own account, which you might run in a scheduled bank. But that account will also be a separate account for Foreign Contributions Regulation Act funds, for foreign funds. And there also, even the interest you earn on the deposits in those accounts will be considered part of FCRA for your utilization, which means if you get 10 crore from somewhere, your interest is 1 crore. You can't say, oh, this 1 crore I am spending on my administrative expenses. No, even the interest earned on that money is subject to FCRA rules and restrictions. Now, there is an objects and reasons section with this amendment draft which tells you why the government is doing it, and they say, look, FCRA contributions have doubled in the last 10 years, and our experience says and our data tells us that a lot of people are misusing it. They are not using it well enough, so something has to be done about it. Now, this is now in Parliament. I told you how this came up in 1976. I told you then how UPA changed the law in 2010, made it much tougher. That in 2015, more than 10,000 organizations lost their license because of that 5-year limit. Earlier, there was no limit. In 2016, another 25 big organizations had their license suspended by the Modi government because they were alleged to be participating in activities detrimental to India's interest. And these were people like Ford Foundation, Greenpeace, Lawyers Collective. They all got hit. Now, it's one thing to take it back to Cold War days when there was a problem with the foreign hand, and Mrs. Gandhi at that point was paranoid that people like George Fernandez were very well linked into the Socialist International, Willy Brandt, German leader, and European socialists and others, and money will come into. So she claimed to be a socialist. She did not want another socialist movement coming up with money from outside. So she started that. Wherever the government wanted to look the other way, it did look the other way. So there were paper that was, say, pro-CPI, pro-communists. They continued getting their money from North Korea or Soviet Union. It did not come as donations. It came as big supplements, 8-page supplements, speech by Kim Il-sung, the then great leader of North Korea. And in fact, I used to do some freelance contribution. I used to go to my college library and write about birds, albatrosses, right? You do anything to pay your fees. To get paid, you had to wait. You had to go and look at the Patriot every day. And one day that 8-page or 10-page supplement appeared in Patriot, after which you knew that you will get your 70 rupee payment from Patriot. So whatever the government wanted to allow, the government allowed. Whatever they wanted to stop, they stopped. So 2010, it became much tougher. And 2010, the UPA government also expanded the definition of political party to political organization, which said this includes all organizations of political nature, which means trade unions or all organizations participating in activities of political nature. That includes trade unions, students' unions, workers' unions, youth forums, women's wings of political parties, maybe it was directed at somebody in particular, farmers' organizations, youth organizations based on caste, community, and religion. And then it goes on to say, this is the 2010 law which continues, this will not be amended, nothing bad is amended, which goes on to say, any organization which habitually engages itself in or employs common methods of political action like Bandh, Hartal, Rasta Roko, Rail Roko, Jail Bharo in support of public causes will also be covered by FCRA. That is what the 2010 UPA law said. So for some details of that, I'm sharing with you an article from The Hindu written by G. Sampath. So a lot of this detail is from there. In fact, I picked it up from there. That was my shortcut on the 2010 law. Now, this was also objected to by UN Special Rapporteur on Rights to Freedom of Peaceful Assembly and Association, who said that this falls foul of international law. Of course, nobody bothered in India about that. UPA did it. I'm telling you once again, Mrs. Gandhi started it. UPA made it much tougher, and now whatever few loopholes are left or whatever little breathing space is left, the Modi government is tightening those also. So there was a committee set up in 2009-10, Sonia Gandhi also was very close to activists, and NAC was filled with them. So there was a demand that NGOs should be allowed to self-regulate. There was a committee set up in 2009. Its report came in 2010. I don't think if anybody has bothered about that. Then you can also see how people have covered for each other, which is why I said sab mile hue hain in the very beginning. Now, in 2014, a case came up in High Court in Delhi, and the High Court said that, look, you guys are stopping everybody from getting foreign money, but all you political parties, including the BJP and Congress, have been getting political money since 1976, since the past, in contravention of this law. So what UPA had done, UPA in its law in 2010 had said that any contributions political parties get after 2010, from that date, I think 26th September 2010, that will no longer be applicable to those parties, so that will not be a violation of FCRA. Now, because the High Court raised this point quietly, there was a tiny amendment, and you will see it on my screen, tiny amendment buried in the 2016 budget documents, that is the finance bill, that said that in place of 26 September 2010 in that law, please replace that with 5th August 1976. Congress didn't object, BJP did it. So, हम आम में सभी नंगे, सभी मिले हुए हैं. When it comes to my interest, I look after my interest, you look after mine, I look after yours. So with that Mili Bhagat, this happened in Parliament. Having said that, I haven't forgotten what I'd said in the very beginning, who spoke those lines. And I will tell you now, those lines were spoken by, I know many of you will be surprised, but I am also sharing your original interview where those lines were spoken. Those lines were spoken by none else than Dr. Manmohan Singh when he was Prime Minister of India. This is February 2012, an interview he gave to Science magazine, which was conducted by Pallav Bagla, who is a well-known Indian science writer, and one of his colleagues from overseas who had come in. In fact, you will see the bylines, and you will see that article, that interview, and also the relevant passage highlighted. So it is something that Dr. Manmohan Singh in 2012 said in that interview to Science magazine. Obviously, he was hurting at that point because Kudankulam was put into trouble. His environment minister had suddenly withdrawn the clearance for BT Brinjal, which, by the way, Modi government has now granted for fresh trials. So, well done, Modi government. They've done it, although Swadeshi Jagran Manch is opposing it, but Modi government now is taking on some of these vested interests. Also, he was hurting because there was an opposition to Kudankulam. He was also hurting because there was organized opposition to the highway building projects he was carrying out in border areas, particularly Arunachal, etc. So he made that point, and he spoke about NGOs then. So don't forget, this is a complex country, and many countries around the world, and many powers, and many corporate interests come in the way of what we are trying to do here. So it's not as if that concern is completely illegitimate. At the same time, how much power should government have to regulate? How draconian can it be? And also, then the final question, how fairly is it implemented? So any law is only as good as the powers implementing it and their intentions.